Good day and welcome back to another Pokemon video. And yeah, this is obviously the next step in our journey in Pokemon Ruby. This one obviously starts with us leaving, obviously the good old island. We've just got our second badge, so we're feeling pretty good right now. The next section does pose a couple difficulties for us though. So firstly, there is a couple grass type Pokemon that are going to start slowly being introduced. Pokemon like Nuzlocke, Lombre, and also we have our second battle against May, which is kind of a big issue. So we need to prepare ourselves for that. Luckily, we were very fortunate last episode to actually get Tentacool, which is one of the better Pokemon we could have got off the Old Rod. And he's going to be a great tool for us to start leveling up and just using. He's not really going to solve our problem against May, but it's valuable to have a second Pokemon that can do attacks. So we arrive in Slateport, or near Slateport I should say, by the beach, and we clean up all the beachgoers. Nice, easy, light work. None of these battles are really worth showcasing. Nice to just kind of get them all out the way, grab some levels for our Tentacool, kind of pushing him all the way up to like level 14, which is really cool by the end of the battle shack. So some nice good levels there, just easy fights to introduce him and introduce our Marsh Stomp into. We also managed to pick up another Pokemon, Magikarp, another one. I'm gonna probably stop using the Old Red at this point. It's not a lot, like your chances of grabbing something like an Azurill or something is just not great, so I'll probably just leave it. We get Marvin, or Martin, to go along with Marvin, I should say. And we now got a dangerous duo, Marvin and Martin. We enter the Battle Shack, and same here, just continue to clean up. Realistically speaking, this is the best opportunity to get some good EXP for our Tentacool, so I was pretty happy about that. And yeah, really awesome, I think, to just kind of get him some levels. It's really going to help us out later on, especially since, Tentacool's going to be, the Pokemon that we kind of teach Surf to. We're going to teach him quite a few moves to obviously kind of just help with saving some space on our Marsh Stomp. So we enter Slateport City, which by the way is a really cool city. I love the design of Slateport, just the whole vibe of it. We speak to this guy who's part of a cult that basically wants children to make secret bases, and we enter the Pokemon fan club. There's some really cool stuff around, the good old city, and I think it's really cool. Just in general, like how cool Slateport was. It was like the first town, I think, that really made me go like, wow, this is very different to the Gen 2 and Gen 1 games and everything, and like just the style was super different. The whole like having a Pokemon contest, having the ferry, having the port, having this cool little outside market area with different stalls, the berry blender, the nickname rater. There's just some really cool stuff in Slateport, and it was just one of those like really cool kind of moments in Pokemon games where I was kind of like, wow, this just feels like really awesome and really fun. And yeah, basically it was just like a really cool moment for me as a player, but of course, everyone has their moments in these games. So we heal up, and now we're going to kind of solve the mystery of the dock. It's not actually that big a mystery. Basically we have to drop the plans off with Captain Stern, but Captain Stern is not actually currently available. That guy gives us some great advice to not use one single type of Pokemon, but little does he know we're running a Nuzlocke, and he probably doesn't know what that is. So obviously Team Magma are blocking off the museum. To get inside the museum, you actually have to go and kind of part ways with the plans, or at least try to. You can't enter the contest yet because you can only do Hyper Rank, which is kind of crappy. It was a big old cock tease at this point. Not gonna lie, it was pretty bumming not being able to do like anything in terms of like just contests and that. It was always so bumming to me as a kid. I was like, what is this new game mode that they have, and just couldn't basically join in, and it was like very upsetting. I kind of tried to see if maybe we should fish here, but then I thought, you know what, actually I'm going to save it and rather come back with a good rod, because yeah, there's a chance to get some decently leveled Pokemon there, which we definitely will need later on. So yeah, we enter into the dock ferry construction zone, and we speak to this guy, and he's like, well, you need to find Captain Stern. So we quickly shoot up to the museum, which now all of a sudden has absolutely allowed the entire Team Magma inside, which, I mean, I would be suspicious if I saw a whole bunch of guys dressed in a singular outfit basically heading up into a museum like some kind of organized flash mob. It would just give me anxiety. So we enter the museum. You can't battle any of the guys here, and also it's a bit cheap that they make you pay 50 Pokebucks. I always wondered what would happen if you just didn't have it. You probably have to go sell something or do something to get it. I actually have no idea. So I'd be interested to know if anyone knows what would happen if you got to that point in the game and you just didn't have 50 bucks with you. So we find Captain Stern, but then we're accosted by two gruesome little Pokemon Magma grunts. Fortunately, they are absolutely useless at their jobs, and we're able to easily clean them up. The first one, he has a Numel. Really nothing too crazy for us. We easily manage to basically hold him out and, you know, kind of like give him a good time. Teemo's obviously doing great, but he has no water moves, so he's kind of not actually cool to take down a Numel, which is a little bit of a shame. But we easily clean up the Numel with our Kippy, who does a sick job of just basically gunning him down with a water gun, gunning him down in the streets. So sorts him out. Then we move on to the second grunt, who pops out a Zubat before popping out a Numel, basically just as a way to give us a little bit of extra XP. So thanks, man. Really, really cool. And Timo hits 14, which is awesome. We're nearing kind of that point. So Timo is really good for like some chip damage actually, and it could come in useful for the Grovyle that appears with May later on, because if we can Poison Sting that Grovyle, we can slowly take it out, especially if we can get Poison Sting and Supersonic off. Would be really strong. It might cost us to trade Timo's life, but it would be really good. But we'll get some levels on him as well, so we should be more than fine actually. And we'll see him kind of progress in levels, and we should be able to get some pretty good value out of it. But yeah, we usually wrap up the Team Magma grunts, and then obviously we take on well, we don't take on anyone, but we meet Maxi. So Maxi is the leader of the Team Magma. Maxi Magma, I know, really ingenuitive. And yeah, basically we chat to him. He says he just wants to expand the world's landmass. We need more space for people, more space, you know, to grow the population, for everyone to be happy, to grow more crops. Little does he know that would basically destroy the ecosystem. Well, I think they both know, kind of. I'm certain both leaders are just trying to bring around world devastation. Like, I'm almost entirely certain. There's no ways they could think that expanding the landmass, or alternatively expanding the seas, would be in any way like a good thing to do. We obtained TM46 from a Team Magma grunt. You can actually miss this TM, by the way, and he was just standing here like the whole game, which is super duper interesting. But hey, it is what it is. So we leave the museum, and then we basically are ready to head out of Slateport and move on up through the bicycle lane, which is pretty cool. The ferry is not ready yet, so we have no real reason to hang around. And then we move up through Route 1110. Now, Route 1110 is pretty cool. It actually has the cycling road, which is one of the easiest ways to hatch eggs in the game, by the way. But before we go anywhere there, we have to fight a couple more people and gain some more levels. Unfortunately, we come across our first double battle. And I say unfortunately because I'm about to do probably the stupidest thing I've ever done in a Pokemon game, like by far. So obviously you can see I send out Plusle and Minun. I very clearly go to Supersonic the Plusle and then move to Mudshot the Minun. But instead, I go one too far, and because I'm clicking too fast, I Mudshot my own Pokemon. not only my own Pokemon, but my second highest Pokemon, my second highest leveled Pokemon. It is a devastating moment for us, and basically is the absolute worst thing that could happen. Not only did he take a significant amount of EXP, but he also was one of our solutions for doing damage to Grovyle, which, by the way, is going to become a lot harder, even without T-Bow. But anyway, we have to move on. We easily clean up +1 minute, like we clearly should have in the beginning. And instead of Teemo hitting rank or level 15, we give some XP to Marvin, who at this point is basically going to have to be our backup and go to backup, because we literally have no other options. And this poses us a huge problem later on, which you're going to see. But still reeling from the loss of Teemo, which, by the way, is probably the most devastating thing I've ever actually had happen to me in a Pokemon game. Yeah, it was pretty rough. So we beat our first double battle, but we lose our second strongest Pokemon, which is not great. It's not great. We continue to level a little bit and clean up some of these side fights, just basically trying to get some final bits of EXP, especially before we take on Grovyle. So May is very, obviously Grovyle has Absorb. Absorb is a 4 times effective move against us. I also tried to hook another Tentacool because I thought maybe the game would gift me one, and I got a Magikarp, so instead of adding him to the collection, I incinerated him. But that's not important. Basically, the thing is yeah, we have a big problem because Grovyle has Absorb, and Absorb is 4 times effective to us, and it's going to be a big problem. We try to go into the Trickster's house, but we don't have Cut. I haven't taught it to anyone yet. We can't, well, yeah, we can't use it yet. So for now, the Trickster's going to have to remain off limits until we can get ourselves a Good Rod or something, or Surf, and maybe get like a Crawfish or something. Just because, yeah, at this point, we're obviously not in a great situation. So now we move on to face May, and she's a huge problem for us, like a massive problem for us. This Dire Hit is super crucial. By the way, we are going to need it. We're also going to need all the Soda Pops that we picked up beforehand. So the battle against May is definitely at this point for most players, I don't want to say like a good kind of checkpoint, but it is a very nice checkpoint to see if your team is in the right direction. Now, ideally, you have some kind of Pokemon that can counter Grovyle, but there's not a lot of Pokemon that can counter Grovyle at this point in the game. You don't really have access to any fire types unless you went for Blaziken, but, you know, of course, they would have Marsh Stomp by then, so it's kind of a thing. So we take out the Walmo with pretty much, like, big ease. The big problem is that he actually gets off a couple Growls, which actually diminishes our overall damage, which isn't great, to be honest. Then, obviously, the next Pokemon she sends out is Grovyle, and this is basically a war of attrition. So the fight against Grovyle is a literal war of attrition. We're basically throwing ourselves at a wall here. We're going to use the Dire Hit. We also have a X attack, I believe, as well. Mudshot does not do a lot of damage at all. Neither does Water Gun, even if we are in a pinch, which we're going to have to be. And then, of course, we also need basically, well, how can I say? We also need to get off a crit. So the big thing is essentially we are just kind of throwing ourselves at a brick wall here. And the goal here is to kind of wear him down, apply the X attack, apply the Dire Hit, and essentially go, okay, you know what, now at this point we get lucky and we get a crit. That's basically the entire process of this. So you just basically consume, take hits, consume, take hits, consume, take hits. If we were smart, we would have bought more from the Pokemart. Would have made our lives way easier. We will be stocking up on those definitely before we take on anyone else. But yeah, it's a bit rough. So we do have to a certain extent, kind of like, especially here we gamble. We gambled a lot. Realistically, I could have done maybe like a little bit like more in terms of preparation, but to be honest, I was not expecting to lose Tentacool, I should say, and I was kind of thrown by that. I was kind of sitting like very like out of the loop. I wasn't really like, you know, thinking too well, basically. So it was kind of like a big shock, and it threw me. Not gonna lie, I was kind of like, well, maybe the run has to end here because we're not in a good situation. We're way behind now on where we need to be. We don't have a second backup Pokemon. We don't have anything. Groval's just bitching me, and yeah, basically I was kind of in like a bad space, a very bad space. But we got lucky. Literally as soon as I cut recording to just kind of roll through and get to the point where maybe we won, we actually got a crit. So it was pretty big. It was with water gun as well, which was really nice. So water gun crit, and that set us up to be, yeah, basically ready to go. It's a tough fight. Definitely, it's a huge one for Marshtomp. We have this big disadvantage, Groval. Once we become Swampert and we can pick up some really good abilities to kind of counter Groval, things become way easier. But this is a big kind of checkpoint, especially for a Nuzlocke run, where you know you can't like just kind of try the fight again and pray for different RNG. This was a very big turning point for us, and a very big check for us as players. After that, we face a Numel, and yeah, basically clean him up pretty easily. And from there, we're in still a tight situation because we're so low on health. But the last two trainers do pose some difficulties, but we should be able to handle them, hopefully avoid them, basically. But yeah, so a pretty tough fight. We managed to get some good luck, which honestly would not have happened without that dire hit. The dire hit was a huge one, because we definitely don't have enough crit to guarantee that crit. We get the item finder from May, which is really cool. And then basically our goal now is to get all the way into the next city, which is still a challenge. The next two trainers are actually still a bit of a problem. At least the very next trainer is, he has a Lombre and a Nuzleaf, and we are out of really good moves. So trying to avoid him as much as possible, you can see here, and of course he spots me. So really sick kind of job there. Really great stealth mechanics that I'm kind of running. But yeah, realistically here, this is a big-ish problem for us. Lombre and Nuzleaf. The big thing here is that he prefers to use nature's power. So I think it was a really like big kind of bit of fortune there, because we only have tackle. We only really have tackle, which is like basically our only move left. And yeah, we are lucky with the Swifts, and we don't take a lot of damage, and then we only have to face Abra, so things go pretty well for us, and we managed to survive. Of course, this trip was not like, yeah, this is not really a big like, how can I say, this was not really a great moment for us. We lost a Pokemon, we've used up all our items, so basically at this point we're going to heal up. We're going to stock back up on items from the Pokemon, and yeah, basically we're kind of doing a soft reset at Morphle City, which isn't great, but there are worse things like losing the run. So, but at this point we've had a lot of close calls, a lot of them are necessarily Not so much because we're pushing it. Well, I think, yeah, it's mainly because we're pushing our luck. We're not necessarily going like a focal route. We're not using items necessarily right now. Realistically, just keeping things tight and just kind of relying on our good natural progression that we have when you pick a Mudkip. We just got a bit unlucky along the way, especially KOing our own Pokemon. Kind of like the stupidest thing we could possibly do. So yeah, pretty simple stuff, but honestly speaking, at this point we're really okay. The Electricity Gym, Mudkip is one of those weird Pokemon whereby the gym you think should be a problem for water Pokemon, he just absolutely does not care about. So before we go into there, we have to deposit Teemo into the box 1, of course, as per the rules. We cannot use him for anything. Unfortunately, we cannot name a graveyard, so it's the graveyard, which sounds a bit like someone from Brooklyn, which is also fine. So yeah, at this point, most people think, oh, what a Pokemon. You'll definitely struggle with the Electricity Gym. No. So Marshtomp and to a greater extent Mudkip as Pokemon, the ground typing really kind of helps him out in the situation. Not only that, but he learns 2 moves, which we've made sure we've learned, which essentially fundamentally turn the Electricity Gym in its entirety into a XP farm. So the big thing is we have Mud Sport. Mud Sport reduces the effectiveness of electricity moves, which is pretty big. But we also have Mud Shot. And Mud Shot is one of the few ground moves that can hit Pokemon that also levitate. So most times Pokemon that levitate, as in Pokemon that are not on the ground, and like flying Pokemon, that they can't be hit by ground moves. Obviously you can't be hit by an earthquake if you're flying in the air, technically. But there are a couple moves that can kind of move past those mechanics. So one of them is Rock Throw, which obviously does a lot of damage to Pokemon, and the other one is Mud Shot. So Mud Shot can hit all Pokemon that levitate, which oddly enough includes Magnemite, and we handle this gym with super duper ease. I throw down a Mud Sport just to kind of play it safe. It's not that I believe we're gonna get absolutely like derailed here. It's just that obviously after the incident with Mud Shotting my own Pokemon and then almost getting KO'd by Grovyle, I'm definitely just kind of playing it safe. Without being too kind of intense on myself, I'm playing it safe. I want to kind of make sure that we can get through this gym and then kind of move on to the next couple, because the next step of the journey is actually quite a big one overall. And so yeah, making sure that we can get through this one, we should technically have a pretty smooth passage after this with Marshtomp or Kippy, and should be able to become a Swampert, and then things are pretty smooth sailing for the most part. But yeah, pretty big stuff. So far so good. Clean up Watson, super duper easy, and yeah, everything ran super duper well, and yeah, super clean. So a good end to a tough video. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, take care and bye.